Now, the scary truth is that 85% of photography businesses fail within the first 3 years. And I think a lot of that has to do with people not implementing these back end parts, the CRMs, your legal stuff, and also advertising, how to properly advertise. Which I'm not going to get into this so much on this video, but I do have a video that is on setting up your ads for Facebook, and I even go through showing you how much I've made in just a month and a half time. So I suggest checking that one out. So first, your must-haves, the things that you have to be a successful photographer. Obviously cameras, obviously flashes, all the other little stuff. Something I also highly suggest is a good way of transporting all of your equipment. You want something that's nice and rugged that can take a beating, because it's going to spend a lot of time in cars, maybe even going through airports. Myself, I don't travel by plane at all, just because I don't really care to. I keep myself plenty busy within a 4 or 5 hour radius of here that I can drive. But still, my equipment does sit in the back of a car bouncing around. So you do want to make sure you've got some nice, good, sturdy cases. I suggest hard shell cases. There's a lot of them out there. Pelican, Condition One. There's a lot of great companies that make cases specifically for photographers. So check out some stuff like that. Make sure your gear is protected, because that is what makes your money. Now here's one that I think a lot of people tend to forget. Most of us, when we first get going with photography as a business, it's usually something done on the side. So you have another job that you're bringing in income. So you have your own checking account. So stop right there and set yourself up a business account. You want all money that is coming from photography to be put into a business account where you're able to keep receipts, stuff like that, so that when you're filing your 1099, you can keep all of that separated. It's an easy way to be able to keep track of your growth, keep track of your expenses, and when you're filing the taxes, hopefully not have to pay taxes on the first couple years, as you should be able to show enough loss that you don't have to pay in. Now let's discuss insurance. This is one that I think a lot of new photographers completely pass over, and it's a real easy way to end up getting yourself into a lot of trouble and end up being financially responsible for something. There's a lot of different types of insurance. Your main ones are your equipment insurance, which will cover loss of your equipment. If you drop a camera, they're gonna replace it. A lens, they will cover repairs. They've got deductibles on them, but that deductible is a lot cheaper than having to straight up replace a camera or replace a lens or any of the other equipment that you use daily. Another type of insurance that you have is your business liability insurance. Now, as a wedding photographer, a lot of the venues that I shoot at require that I have at least a $2 million policy that covers any damage to their venue, will cover any type of injuries to guests, say a light stand falls over on top of somebody. That's going to cover any of those medical expenses, something that could very easily bankrupt you. Now, especially if you're not an LLC, you're working as a sole proprietor, that could come back and end up biting you. You would be financially responsible through your own assets for any damage that was caused or any injuries that were caused while you were doing a photo shoot or shooting at a wedding. Now I'm going to take a pause right there and say, I'm not trying to scare anybody away from this, talking about, them coming after you financially, but this is just stuff that you really want to cover your base on, because it is a real thing that can happen and does happen to people, especially newer photographers that are getting into it and haven't done enough research to know that they need to have these types of insurance in place to safeguard themselves. Now the next big one is contracts. Every time you are doing a shoot, even if it is a free one, you need to have a contract in place. Even if no money is being exchanged, but you want to be using those photos for your portfolio or any type of advertisement, you need to have some type of model release in place so that they can't come back and tell you that they don't belong to you and you can't be using them, stuff like that. But you also want it in place to hopefully cover in case something were to happen, even if it's with a friend. If you were doing a free photo shoot with a friend and they tripped because you told them to move this way or that way and they broke their ankle, they could still come back and sue you. That also leans back into why it's important to have that insurance, even while you are working for free, just trying to build your portfolio. Now, when I was doing it for free and just getting going, I didn't have insurance, but looking back at it, it wasn't a great decision, because something as simple as somebody tripping could have financially ruined me and ended the business before it even got started. Now, there's all kinds of contracts. The main one that I usually deal with the wedding photography is like the service client agreements. It's a pretty lengthy contract that covers the retainer, covers what deliverables there are, what expectations, covers in case of emergencies, or if I had to cancel or had a second shooter that had to come in and fill in, all kinds of different stuff. Now, the contracts, you can find them online and kind of tailor them to your own needs. You can hire a lawyer that could write you one up. One of my big suggestions is, and something that I think every photographer should do, is join Professional Photographers of America. They've got a lot of different contract templates that are on there that you can copy, paste, and then tailor it to your own needs and use those ones. But you're also going to want to check with your own state laws. There's different laws when it comes to the wording in contracts, specifically when it comes to deposits. Don't ever call it a deposit, it's a retainer. A retainer is paying for you to hold that date. It's the same thing as like having a lawyer on retainer. You're paying an amount of money to be able to have them ready for you, available for you at a later date. Some states, when you say it's a deposit, that deposit could be refundable. Now, that's not something we typically do in photography, because when somebody is paying you a retainer to hold a date, you're now telling other clients that that date's no longer available. So you're potentially losing out on income if you were just going to end up having to give that money back because they canceled it. That retainer is making sure that no matter what, I'm still making something after I've told many clients that that date's no longer available. Even this year, for example, I've had, I think it was 2 big dates this year that I've had multiple people ask me about, which the dates were booked in the beginning of January. So if I didn't have a retainer in place and one of those canceled, I'm missing out on that income. So you've got some contract templates. Now we need somewhere to be keeping those, keep them organized, be able to send them out and get them signed. This is what's called a CRM. It's a client relationship management software. There's lots of them out there. I know people that use like Honeybook, I think Pixieset does them, there's Studio Ninja. My favorite is one called CloudSpot. I've been using that for quite a while. Not only does it take all my payments online, keeps all my contracts organized, it keeps my galleries. All of my galleries are hosted on there that I send to my clients. And it also has my print store on there as well, so that when they are in their galleries, they can order prints through there, which I also get commission on. It's by far my favorite one. It actually interacts with my calendar on my phone, on my Google Calendar, and will put all the dates that I have coming up into my calendar, which is shared across our family one, so that everybody knows what dates that I'm booked and I've got to be out of town, stuff like that. It's a great one. I highly suggest it, but a CRM is something you definitely need to keep all of that organized, because as you start booking more and more and more dates, you'll lose track of them. You lose track of when you have stuff coming up, whose wedding it is, all of your notes, all of the different stuff. I keep all of my shot list in there. As I get closer to the date, I build those shot lists as I get more information. All of that stays within the project for the wedding, so it's easy for me to click on it, see it, know everything that's going on. A couple days before the wedding, I usually print everything out, and it goes into one of my bags that's going to go to the wedding. It has all the information I need for that day. But without a CRM, I don't know how I would keep that all organized. It would not be an easy task. But yeah, CloudSpot, I highly suggest myself. It's one of the only ones that I've seen that does all the hosting, takes the payments, it sends out all the invoice, it sends out reminders to them that their invoices are due, and does a lot of great stuff. And the customer service with them has been fantastic. So I've gone through the legal parts, bank account, your insurance, stuff like that. Another big thing is a website. I can't even count the amount of photographers just in my area that rely just on Facebook or Instagram. And that's not the way to go. You definitely need to have a nice branded website that looks very appealing. Especially in like wedding photography, where you're trying to appeal to clients that are, spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a wedding. They're not going to just try to sit there and dig through your photos on Facebook. They want a website that they can go straight to and be able to see all of your wedding photos and be able to see information about you and see that you're a legit photographer. Not only does it make you look professional, it gives them a nice place to be able to go to see all of your different portfolio. And now with that website, something I highly, highly suggest is start studying up on SEO. That is what helps you rank on like Google. If somebody's searching for a local photographer in your area, the better your website is with its SEO, the higher it's going to rank up. The way that I accomplish that with my website is writing blogs. I have blogs that are covering different types of topics, such as a good wedding venue in the area, what to look for a wedding photographer, or what to look for a senior yearbook photographer, things like that. Now on my website, there's no actual link to those blogs. It's kind of a back part of the website, but it helps the search engines be able to rank me and find me easier, so it'll bring up my rank in the search for on Google and all the other different search engines. Lots of information out there that can help you out. I will say that I use Squarespace for my website, and there's a lot of really good information through theirs that helps you build up that SEO, and it'll do checks on your website and kind of point you in the right direction of what you need to do to increase your website's SEO. So now you kind of got yourself set up for success. You've got all your bank accounts, you've got your CRM, you've got your website, you've got your legal parts and your insurance. Now, what you really want to be focusing on is your growth forward. You need to be taking that income that you're making and investing it back in. Now, there's a whole rule on, you should really only be putting about 20-25% of it into your own personal bank account. But in the beginning, that's just not something that's really doable, especially when you do make that jump to full-time photography. It might not be only 20-25% that you're keeping on your side, but you definitely want to set up a number that I'm going to set aside this much that is going to be reinvested in, because you're going to need to update cameras or replace cameras at least. Cameras do have a certain life. They're going to take a lot of wear and tear from doing different shoots, and we all know cameras are not cheap. Having to replace even a lens or whatever, or paying your deductible for a repair on a lens. So you want to kind of future-proof yourself. That's something that I think ends up stopping a lot of professional businesses, or a lot of professional photography businesses, is that they don't set themselves up for the future part of it, having to update all that equipment. They've spent all this time buying all the different parts that they need through the years, or however long, and they've got themselves rolling, but they've just been taking that money and using it for their own personal expenses and not putting it back towards what's been making them that money. And then you end up hitting a point that you don't have the capital to be able to replace any of that equipment, and you are back to square one. And that is what you need to avoid. I honestly believe that's what ends up ending a lot of young photographers and their photography business, is they weren't looking at the finances in the long run of how they need to keep it and keep it sustained, as well as being able to advertise and pay for your advertisement. That is something you really need to budget in as well. Majority of mine right out of the gate came from Facebook advertising. Now it's not expensive. You can start at $5 a day, $10 a day, whatever it is that you're able to afford. But you definitely need to have some ads running to be able to get your name out there until you've got your SEO built up so much that anytime somebody searches for a wedding photographer in whatever town you live in, you're coming up first. Until you get to the point that you constantly have leads coming in from your website, then you need to be looking into advertising, and you need to be financing correctly for that, as well as saving money to be able to replace all of your gear. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to set yourself up successfully for your own wedding photography business or portrait photography business. And as always, if you have any questions, drop a comment, send me a message. I'm always open to answer any questions. Till next time.